How do I know? The Republicans in Texas are freaking the F out now that Jasmine Crockett has put her name in the hat for Senate. Let me point you to this piece that came out in USA Today that has me absolutely cracking up. It is such a cope. It's by Nicole Russell, who runs a conservative family values Substack and is a contributor to USA Today. The piece is entitled, Rep. Jasmine Crockett Has No Shot of Winning the Texas Senate Race, an opinion piece. If I accidentally slip into a little bit of a bitchy white lady Texas accent while I'm reading this, that's not me trying to make fun of Nicole. That's me having my Texas childhood come back up. But I will do my best. I will do my best not to do that. I am not mocking this writer, even though I think her opinion piece is hilarious. Okay, if the Democratic primary shakeup in Texas is any indication, the party's future doesn't look good. Wow, babe, you said that the day after Democrats just won a number of important races in Florida and Georgia. Okay, that's a choice that you made. Rep. Jasmine Crockett announced on December 8th that she's filed to run for U.S. Senate in Texas, essentially swapping places with more moderate Democratic Rep. Colin Allred, who is popular here, but who dropped his bid the same day after speaking with Crockett. Colin Allred did back out. He announced that he was withdrawing from the running and said that it would not be good for democracy for him and Jasmine Crockett to run against each other in the primaries. I think that was a really smart move on his part. I'd love to know what Texas Democrats think. After all, this is your state and representation for y'all, not for me in Oregon. Texans deserve representation, even though Republicans in Texas are trying very, very hard to deny Black and brown voters of that right. Okay, she goes on to say, Crockett is a progressive firebrand. Her bid for the U.S. Senate demonstrates some important, uncomfortable truths about the Democratic Party right now. It's still finding its footing a year after Americans re-elected President Donald Trump. It has leaned toward the progressive left, preferring politicians who espouse provocative rhetoric and typical failed leftist policy positions to more common sense moderates. Again, why is it that a woman who runs a conservative family values Substack is trying real hard for Democrats to continue to take up losing establishment moderate positions? Why is she doing that? She goes on to act like she can predict the future. Texans will not vote to elevate Crockett to the Senate, but I hope this race gives the nation a chance to see that the Democratic Party is veering further left than before and pushing flamboyant stars' attempt at extreme rhetoric rather than accomplishing moderate policy goals. Tell me, what moderate policy goals did Donald Trump and the fascists have? What moderation is there from the Republican Party, girlfriend? I actually really want you to think about this white lady's choice of words and the racist it's not undertones, it's overtones. It's right there on the surface. She goes on to say, Rep. Jasmine Crockett is just a provocateur. Jasmine Crockett is a highly educated woman. She's a skilled attorney, an extremely competent legislator. Weird that you call her just a provocateur. Crockett is a founding member of Texas's Progressive Caucus. Yes, awesome. And has been a U.S. representative for the state's 30th congressional district, part of Dallas and Tarrant County, since 2023. She certainly holds views that align with the left's more progressive wing. The Democratic Party is not the left, just FYI. It's weird how I'm hearing from people on the political left who are like, Jasmine Crockett is pro-Israel. But one, no, she's not. But two, it's funny how people on the political right are saying the exact opposite. They're like, she's anti-Israel, therefore she's unelectable. She opposed a bipartisan Israel aid bill that excluded humanitarian aid for Gaza and Ukrainian support. I believe that she's done that twice. Yeah, she's not voting for packages to Israel that do not include support for the people of Gaza, for children who are starving. Pretty sensible position to take up. But this next line, she simply voted present on a measure denouncing socialism. I mean, I made a video saying shame on every single Democrat who voted for that resolution. It was complete nonsense. It was complete McCarthyism, Red Scare propaganda. It was riddled with lies. Good on Jasmine Crockett for not voting for that bullshit. But this next part, the 44-year-old seems to create appeal from voters with an emphasis on identity politics. Texas Democrats, y'all can correct me here, but doesn't she create an appeal for voters by vigorously defending democracy? Trying to make sure that y'all get representation in the House? The author goes on to take issue with the fact that on the Congresswoman's website, in her biography, it says that she was the sole Black freshman and youngest Black lawmaker in Texas during the 87th legislative session. That's just the reality of who she is. That's not identity politics. That's also not the foundation of her representation for the people in her district. That's such a weird thing. White conservative woman so triggered by the fact that a Black woman mentioned that she's Black. In September 2025, Crockett compared U.S. Immigration's customs enforcement operations, particularly those under Trump, to Civil War-era slave patrols. You think that these truthful things that Crockett is saying are turning her off to voters? You think that this is extreme rhetoric? You think this is proof that she can't win? See what I mean? This entire piece is a giant cope. And then, of course, she has to bring up the Hot Wheels comment with Governor Greg Abbott because they're grasping at straws here. The author goes on to point out an interview that Crockett did with Jonathan Van Ness on his Getting Better podcast. She discussed her background as a public defender, stating, "I do want people to know that just because someone's committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal. That is completely different. Being a criminal is more so about your mindset. Committing a crime can come for a lot of different reasons." What's so controversial about that? What's the problem there? Tell me, conservative blogger, what's the problem with that statement? And then, she's really clutching her pearls here. During an online rally for the Tesla takedown movement, Crockett had some birthday wishes for Elon Musk on her own birthday, and they weren't for another successful year. "All I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon Musk to be taken down," Crockett said. Yeah, because he sucks, because he's contributing to the destruction of democracy. He's a billionaire grifting. He's part of the kleptocracy, getting billions of our tax dollars for SpaceX to go do space mining, hundreds of millions of our tax dollars spent buying Tesla, whatever they're called, Cybertruck. I always forget that they're called Cybertruck because they don't look like a truck. Buying cyber trucks for the Department of Defense. That's all a fucking grift. Are we supposed to be fans of Elon Musk now? This is really weird comment from this woman. Really weird that she thought that was proving her point. She goes on to get upset that Crockett called Donald Trump a wannabe Hitler and a piece of shit. Again, problem there? What's the problem? What's the problem there? Okay, she goes on to say, if Crockett wins the Democratic nomination, she will face one of several Texas Republicans. She's not beating Senator John Cornyn. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, he is a whoo. The fact that she thinks Ken Paxton is not extreme, fringe, completely radical, and reprehensible, that says a lot. Or Representative Wesley Hunt, who I'm not personally familiar with. I can't imagine the Democratic Party actually thinks Crockett will win a Senate race in this state. While I can see that Crockett has a certain star power, she is unlikely to rise far enough. Again, diminishing her accomplishments, her intellect, her skill, her capability as a legislator to just say that she has star power, that she's just got celebrity status. She goes on to say that the state is largely conservative and voters want it that way. The state is gerrymandered all to hell. White voters may want it that way. Actually, when I was a kid in Texas, Texas had a Democratic governor. It's white Republicans who want to ensure that the state stays incredibly gerrymandered. That's why they have taken away 5 districts in an incredibly racist move. And it's only because the fringe 6 on the Supreme Court who want to make Donald Trump a king have made an unbelievably bad ruling that this horribly gerrymandered map is going forward. It's overtly racist. Republicans can't win unless they cheat. They can't win without doing a big racism. Not unlike what this author is doing here in this article. She concludes by saying, looking at Crockett's sparse legislative record, girlfriend, what are you talking about? And cable news ambitions, where she spouts provocative things or smears Republicans, I have one question for Democrats. Is this the kind of person the Democratic Party really wants as a leader? Texans sure don't. If you thought that she was such a big loser, Nicole, if you thought that it was inevitable that a Republican was going to win handily against her in a general election for Texas, why are you writing this entire piece desperately trying to convince people that Jasmine can't win and that she shouldn't be running in the first place and that Texas Democrats shouldn't vote for her in the primary? If you didn't think that she was a threat to Republicans in Texas, if you didn't think that she was a viable candidate, why would you write this entire piece having an absolute meltdown? Maybe you should stick to writing your conservative values, family, and religion newsletter and let Democratic voters decide who it is that they want to elect in their primary. And then we'll see. We'll see what happens in the general election. I can tell you're sweating about it, but we'll see how it plays out. The future is not yet written. If Texans want Jasmine Crockett, they'll vote for her, no matter how hard you want to crash out all over USA Today about it.